So last time we found out about how much the Israelites whined and complained in the first half of the book of Numbers, and not much changes in the second half. While wandering around in the wilderness because of their rebellion, the people of Israel arrived in the desert of Sin. It was here that Moses' sister Miriam died, and there was no water, and the people rebelled against Moses again, saying, "We'd be better off dying from God's plagues or dying in Egypt." And God told Moses and Aaron to gather the people at a nearby rock. And he said, "Speak to the rock, and it will pour out its water." But Moses screamed at the people, calling them Marah, or bitter. And he then whacked the rock twice with his staff, and water came out. But God told Moses and Aaron that they had represented him poorly, and he said, "Neither one of you will enter the promised land." Sometime later, Moses sent a message to the Edomites to let them know that their brother Israel planned to pass through their territory. But Edom told them not to come near. And so Moses responded, saying that they would stay only on the main highway that went through their land. But Edom again denied them and sent out an army to block their way. Later, Moses, Aaron, and Aaron's son Eleazar go up to Mount Hor, and there Aaron dies, and Eleazar takes over as high priest. After this, Moses led the Israelites through the desert to avoid going through Edom. But they again spoke against God and Moses, and they said they wanted to go back to Egypt. And they whined and whined that there wasn't enough food or water, and so God sent poisonous snakes to attack the Israelites. And the Israelites confessed their sins, and Moses prayed for them. God told Moses to make a bronze snake and put it on a pole. And anyone who had been bitten and looked at the bronze snake survived. In the New Testament, Jesus used the story of the bronze snake to explain his own death. And so the Israelites began to move from place to place. They went to Hormah, where they were raided by Canaanites, then on to Oboth and Iye-Abarim, the Zered Valley, and then alongside the Ammon, which was on the border between Moab and the Amorites, and then on to Be'er, where Israel's sons sprang up a well, and God gave them water. Then on to Matana, and Nahaliel, and Bamoth, and then finally they arrived in Moab at the valley where the top of Pisgah overlooks the wasteland. And Israel sent a message to Sihon of the Amorites and asked to pass safely through. And instead, Sihon's army attacked Israel, but Israel defeated Sihon and claimed his territory. Later, Moses sent spies to the city of Jazer, and Israel then drove out the Amorites that lived there. Israel then followed the road towards Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, and his army met Israel at Edrei and declared war on them. But Israel defeated Og and took his land. Elsewhere in the Torah, Og is described as a giant. Israel made camp on the plains of Moab across the Jordan River from Jericho. But Balak, the king of Moab, feared the Israelite presence in his land, and he sent messengers to Aram to retrieve Balaam, son of Beor. Balaam was a professional curser. Balak wanted Balaam to pronounce a curse upon Israel so that they would be destroyed, and Balaam agreed to do it for a hefty sum of money. But before Balaam arrived in Moab, God spoke to him and told him to only speak the words God would put into his mouth about Israel. Now, Balaam is a figure who turns up not only in the Bible, but in archaeology as well. In 1967, an ancient manuscript was found at an excavation site in Jordan that contained the name of Balaam, son of Beor. The text described Balaam as one who communicated with the gods at night. It also says that he had a vision of the god El. Now, as Balaam was traveling along the road, an angel stood ahead of him with a drawn sword, and Balaam didn't see the angel, but his donkey did, and walked off the path. And so Balaam beat his donkey to get it back on the path. Then the angel stood in a different place between two walls of a vineyard. And the donkey stopped walking and pushed up against the wall trying to escape and crushed Balaam's foot. And Balaam beat his donkey again. Then the angel moved to another place where the donkey could not escape from him, and the donkey sat down and refused to move. And so Balaam beat his donkey again, but God caused the donkey to speak, saying, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? And Balaam said, "You have made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." But the donkey said, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" The text then says that God caused Balaam to see the angel in the road, and Balaam bowed down. The angel said, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it." The angel then told Balaam to continue on his journey, but to only say what he would tell him to say. And so Balaam took his sweet time, and Balak was a tad impatient by the time he arrived, and Balak reminded Balaam of the money he had promised him. And Balaam informed him that he would only be able to speak what the Lord would allow him to speak. And so Balak took Balaam up a mountain to view Israel and put a curse on them. And God spoke, and Balaam delivered his message to Balak. Balaam's first message was, "How can I curse those whom God has not cursed?" And so Balak took Balaam to another place where he could see only the outskirts of Israel's camp, and told him to curse Israel. And Balaam's second message was, "I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot change it." And so Balak told him to neither curse them nor bless them at all. And Balak took Balaam to another place, and told him to curse Israel from there. And Balaam's third message was, "May those who bless you be blessed, and those who curse you be cursed." And Balak became angry after this third blessing, and told Balaam to go home. But Balaam kept spitting out God's messages anyway. His fourth message was, "A star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will rise out of Israel. He will crush the foreheads of Moab. Edom will be conquered, but Israel will grow strong." And his fifth message was, "Amalek was first among the nations, but their end will be utter destruction." His sixth message was, "You Kenites will be destroyed when Asher takes you captive." And finally, Balaam's seventh message was, "Alas, who can live when God does this? Ships will come from the shores of Cyprus. They will subdue Asher and Eber, but they too will come to ruin." Meanwhile, many of the Israelites at this time went over to the Moabites and committed themselves to the Baal of Peor. And the text says the Lord's anger burned against them, and he sent a plague among the people. And God told Moses to command the Israelites to kill everyone who had aligned themselves with Baal and the Moabites. While Moses and the elders were weeping at the tabernacle, an Israelite man decided to bring a Midianite woman rather than a Moabite woman into the camp to have sex in front of everyone. And Phinehas, Aaron's grandson, grabbed his spear and drove it through both of them. And the plague finally stopped. The text says that 24,000 people died from the plague, and Israel and Midian became enemies over this incident. At this point in the book of Numbers, Moses takes another census, because so many people died since the last one at the beginning of the book. All the people recorded in the first census had died in the desert, except for Joshua and Caleb. And God told Moses to climb a mountain and look out over the promised land, and to anoint Joshua as the new leader in the presence of all Israel, because Moses would die before Israel entered the promised land. And God also told Moses to order the Israelites in battle against Midian, and Israel fought and killed 5 Midianite kings. Israel also killed Balaam, son of Beor. This text says that Balaam was actually the one who had told the Midianite woman to try and seduce the Israelites, and that the Israelites let these same women live when they went to war, which made Moses cranky. Now, the rest of the book of Numbers is mostly made up of Moses giving instructions to the people on how to divide up the land once they entered into it. And so that's the book of Numbers for you. Up next, Deuteronomy.